Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Welcome to my new streaming live show, taking your calls, called Common Ground. It's great to be here. We are going to restore liberty and prosperity to the Garden State and to this entire country. The worst case in America is better than the best case in many countries around this world. So we ought to be thankful to be Americans. We've got to fight for it. And my commitment to you is I'm going to use that position, I'm going to use that power to help empower you and make our community stronger, make our business community stronger, empower our parents, empower our nurses and our teachers and our janitors and our bus drivers and our lawyers and doctors and patients and nurses and dental hygienists and everyone in between, from the over-the-road to the regional and local truck drivers to the folks that are stacking shelves at Walmart. Every one of you deserves a voice because you're an American. Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Welcome back to our new streaming show, Common Ground. Sorry I wasn't with you last week. We had all kinds of scheduling conflicts going on. Hope you enjoyed the rerun of our fantastic episode that we went live at a seat at the table in Somerset. Awesome time. Hope you enjoyed that. And I want to welcome our new partners at On New Jersey, ONNJ.com. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You know, we've got so much to talk about every single week. The battle to get New Jersey back to normal is raging. And I tell people that, look, we can't just wait for an election of a new governor in 2025. We can't just wait for November in 2023 to elect a new majority. We've got to act now, and we've got to act every day. And we've got to empower the moms and the dads and the working and middle class families and the store owners and the shopkeepers and everybody in between to make sure that the people in New Jersey are getting the government that they deserve. Now, you look ahead, there are a lot of issues. And today I want to focus on one of the big issues out there, which is how our society and government in particular is standing up for the most vulnerable among us. Now, obviously, there are different classes of vulnerable folks, right? We talk about the vulnerable people when it came to COVID, right? Anybody 80, 85 and older who had comorbidities. We did a terrible job in New Jersey. Thousands and thousands of people died who shouldn't have died, many of whom would still be with us had it not been for the terrible policies of Judy Persikilli, the health commissioner, and Governor Murphy. We talk about vulnerable, those who don't have a voice, people who are in the disabled community, developmentally disabled adults. That is something that I've talked about often. But there's another category of folks. It's the children in the state who are dealing with autism and the families that support these kids. And I have to tell you that from my travels and the folks that I talk to on a regular basis, not just from our top-rated morning show at New Jersey 101.5, but also on this platform. And as you know, my wife Jody and I are traveling the state. We've been out on the trail now for the past 9 or 10 months doing 2 to 3 events a day. And I talk to an awful lot of people, thousands of New Jerseyans every week. And I can tell you, we are doing a terrible job protecting both the developmentally disabled adults in our community and the kids with autism. And we're doing a bad job, not just protecting them, but standing up for their parents. Now, joining me now is our first guest. Before I get to our guest, I do want to thank our sponsor. I want to thank our good friend, Rob Gill, and Epic Financial Strategies. If you go to the website, moneymindset2023.com, there's a form for you to fill out. You can find out all about what Epic Financial Strategies can do for you and your future. So I want to thank them. But I want to bring our next guest, our first guest of the day, Jennifer Love. Now, Jennifer's daughter, Emma, is the subject of something called Emma's Law. And I'm going to let her tell you the story. We've had her on before, but this is a heart-wrenching story of something that happened that was so preventable and so avoidable, but the law named for Jennifer's daughter, Emma's Law, still can't get traction in our legislature. Absolutely outrageous. Jennifer, welcome to Common Ground. How are you?
Hi, Bill. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me over and over again.
Yeah, listen, Jennifer, your fight is my fight. I mean, this is, I look at what you go through with your daughter, Emma, and what you're fighting for, and we'll talk about in a little bit, Billy Cray's Law and other things that are simple solutions to protect our disabled community, to protect our challenged community, and the government's simply not doing it. So let's back up and let's go to the story about Emma. She was lost on a bus. The bus went missing for hours on end. Just tell us briefly what happened.
Yeah, this was about 12 years ago. Emma travels from Cranford down to Neptune every day for school, and they switched our bus company because, so if people don't know how the process works, when you're out of district, it goes out to a bid. The contract goes to the lowest bidder, so you know what you're getting when you're dealing with the lowest bidder, and they can frequently switch.
Not always, right? But when there's no accountability, that low bid comes in. Nobody's watching the store. That was the problem. Anyway, go ahead.
That's exactly right. So my daughter is 100% nonverbal, and at the time she was 7 years old, and I'm her voice, so I need to be able to be in contact. She doesn't have a phone she could call me on. She has no way to get in touch with me, and so I'm very particular. We raise our kids saying don't get in a car with strangers, but society is telling me I have to put my vulnerable child in a car with strangers because I don't know anything about them, and just trust that everything goes okay.
Right.
And one day it didn't. They wound up getting lost. She got on the bus at 6:45, and when I got down for her, I happened to be going down for her parent-teacher conference that day. At 10:30, she still wasn't there. Well, fast forward, we didn't find the bus until 1:30 because there's no way to track.
So Jennifer, back up. You show up at the school. Your daughter, in your mind at this point, is under the care of the school, but you get to the school. She's not there. She's 100% nonverbal, not there. The bus never arrived.
The bus never arrived.
Wow.
And they just assumed I was bringing her with me since I was coming there. So we didn't track the bus down until 1:30. They were in Camden. So it's about an hour and a half from Neptune to Camden.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they were doing in Camden, but they certainly weren't delivering the 5 nonverbal children to the school they should have been. So after that,
amazing.
I was able to secure back the company that I had, and we lived in ignorant bliss for a few more years because I knew everybody. They gave me their cell phone numbers. I could communicate with them.
Right.
So, the companies don't have to release the information of who's driving you, who the aide is on the bus. So the only person you can contact is the actual dispatch, which is nowhere near the bus and doesn't open many times for hours after the children have already left.
So you have no way of knowing if the aide on the bus or the bus driver have any way of communicating with these kids or even communicating with the parents. I find it hard to believe, and maybe this is just I don't want to get sidetracked, but the bus is missing for 6 hours. They find them in Camden. It sounds to me like something else was going on, but I don't know if any charges came out of that, or do you know? Is there anything?
I regret that I never did.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
Sounds crazy.
I had every emotion in that 1 minute when they pulled in. And I thought I was never going to see her again. So I was so happy to get her back.
Of course.
I should have pursued it. I wish I had.
Well, you were worried about your kid. So what will Emma's Law do?
So Emma's Law, when we first wrote it back in 2018, because they changed the bus on her again, and I couldn't get anybody's contact information, so I wouldn't put her on the bus.
Yeah, of
which
course.
Had me driving her to and from school for 4 months. And gave me a lot of time to call everybody I could think of as to how we can change this process, because I'm fortunate enough that my company allows me to be able to drive her to and from. If I had to work somewhere else, I'd have to put her on that bus.
Right.
And that's just not acceptable. So Emma's Law says that any special needs child in a school, in a bus. They put the word school bus, which is, I just found out today, is part of the problem that in getting this law passed. So we are going to have to amend it. But it should
Don't
be
even
out
get
of
me
district.
started, Jennifer, on the ridiculous nuances in Trenton that block these guys from acting. I'm going through this with friends on the labor side, the construction side, for want of a couple of words in a bill, something can't get done. In my opinion, that is their excuse for being incompetent.
The NJEA they're the ones blocking it because they don't want to have to outfit the school buses. So we'll have to rewrite it to be that it's out of district placement. Privately owned companies will have to outfit their vehicles with a GPS tracking, real-time surveillance, and a communication device, which kind of to me sounds like Uber, right? Isn't that what we do with Uber?
But Jennifer, let me just ask you this. So the NJEA is objecting because they say we'd have to retrofit all the school buses, which honestly is a good idea as well. I don't know why. I don't know why we can't have an app on the driver's phone and he logs in. I mean, we know where every Uber driver is in the country at any given moment. You are as safe as can be. You got it on your phone. He's got it on his phone. That's what we ought to be doing. But the NJEA,
really a no-brainer.
So the NJEA is pushing back because of course they are, because they're not about the kids. They're not even about the teachers. The NJEA is about their own bureaucracy, lining their own pockets, their own special interests, and the perks of being in charge. That said, you're narrowing it down. What can we do? Because it seems to me that we've got to get the word out on this. I know that Ed Durr is all over this. Senator Ed Durr has been a champion of the developmentally disabled adults with Billy Cray's law, which I've talked about many times on this show, and now Emma's law. And I'm sure we've got a majority of Republicans, at least, I would imagine even many Democrats, that want to see this passed.
Right. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. I mean, it should be the safety of our most vulnerable people, right? We had a Zoom with the ombudsman for Governor Murphy a couple of weeks ago, and their answer is, well, you have to run for office. You have to, get a seat at the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I said, do you ever
because
realize that
every mom of a special needs kid has the time to run for office. What a grotesque thing to tell someone.
Did you realize that nobody with special needs kids are in politics? Because we have 3 full-time jobs.
That's exactly right.
You're the loudest voice that I know. You have the most ears, certainly. So what we have to do is just get awareness out there. Part of it is, mainstream media focuses on, if you didn't know anybody with autism, you would think they could all make a half-court shot in a basketball game. They could all deliver a valedictorian speech. They could be the good doctor or whatever that show is. That's not real life.
Right.
Now, those people have struggles too, but it's a different struggle. And it's not sexy to see, what we have to deal with my daughter. So nobody wants to put that out there. But, I'd love to just come over and videotape some of the struggles we have. It takes, 5 grown people to do something as simple as your fingernails and toenails.
Jennifer, maybe that is a fantastic idea. That maybe we should talk about having your daughter on the show, or maybe we do something remote where we bring some families together. We're doing a lot of remote podcasts, and I would love to bring the podcast to you.
That would be great.
Why don't we do this?
So they can see the real face of the very affected.
Yes. How about we do this? How about in Garwood? We're going to have this event at Rosie's Wine Bar in Garwood.
Yeah, she's going to be there.
All right.
She's going to be there.
So that is our plan. Get in touch with, I know you're in touch with Sharon anyway, but let me back up. Before July 10th, I'd like to ask, so we're going to be in Garwood. I'd like to ask for Senator Ed Durr, and on the Democrat side, Senator Vin Gopal. I don't know if you've talked to him, but Vin and I are friends. I think that this is right up his alley, and we could get a bipartisan conversation going. I'm going to invite them and several other senators that we know, see if they will not only join us at the wine bar on June 10th in Garwood, July 10th, Rosie's Wine Bar. But between now and then, let's see if we can't connect the dots on that. So I'm out of time, but we're on this. Jennifer, we are on this. Emma's law is important. We're going to get it done. I'm going to bring in some of the stakeholders, and then I'm looking forward to seeing you and Emma July 10th. It'll be on our site, billspadea.com. We'll get a flyer together if it's not already up there, and we'll send that out to our, we've got 110,000 members right now, and the reality is that people are interested in helping champions like you, which started just because you're a good mom, and now it can have an impact to the tens of thousands of moms across this state who are dealing with a very similar situation. Thank you.
By the time we get it passed, Emma will be out of the system, but
I
it
know.
will help everybody else.
Look, maybe we can fast track this sooner. I can tell you this: if we elect a legislature with a majority of common sense, critical thinkers that understand the real plight of parents with special needs kids, we can get this done. And maybe in 2025 we'll have a governor who understands this stuff at a level where it will be fast tracked, and the state will finally start acting on behalf of the most vulnerable families that we have, instead of being a roadblock to help, which is what they've been for decades.
Yes. Well, I certainly know who I want as governor, but we won't say that now.
We'll talk soon. Thanks. All right, Jennifer.
Thanks,
You
Bill.
take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That is Jennifer Love. Jennifer's one of the champions out there. I mean, she is, her daughter, Emma, think about what they go through. And when the media sanitizes this, you know, you look at this and you're like, we're not getting a real picture of what's happening. So I want to, in a minute, I'm going to bring in our next guest. I'm waiting for all the screens to refresh. But I will tell you this, that parents with kids with autism go through something that most parents don't go through, in part based on, and I love that Jennifer said this, the media perception. You know, it's one thing to highlight these kids that do incredible things. Wow, this kid gives a valedictorian speech, and this one makes a half-court shot. That's fantastic. The challenge is sometimes the media perception glosses over the day-to-day struggle with someone who is nonverbal, with someone who can not function at the level of a typical kid. And that's something that we've got to change the conversation in this state. Our next guest, Alexandra Ponsica. I hope I said that correctly. She has two sons with autism, Caleb and Noah. And I'm going to let her tell you the story. They're using spelling to get the communication skills to the level where these kids can interact. It's a fascinating thing. There's a short movie out there, Spellers, but I'm going to let her tell you. Let's bring her in. Alexandra, great to see you. Come on in. How are you?
Hey, Bill, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Did I say your last name right, Alexandra? Ponsica?
Yeah, Ponsica, yes.
Ponsica. All right, I was close.
That's okay. Thank you so much for having me. Actually, you know, it was interesting to hear Jennifer talk as well, because I can absolutely relate to the, I used to use the term nonverbal, but I use the term non-speaking now, because I learned that the word nonverbal in Latin actually means without words. And I now realize that they are not without words at all. But I had struggled for many years not being able to understand what my kids had wanted, and they've been non-speaking. They're now 11 years old. We started a method of communication, a low-tech AAC, alternative and augmentative communication method, when they were 8 years old in 2020. And now at 11 years old, they are fully communicative through the method Spelling to Communicate.
Briefly tell me, how does it work? I mean, they don't speak, so tell me how does it work?
Yeah, so my one son, Noah, he's non-speaking and no words. Caleb is minimally speaking, so he'll script and he'll just recite things and repeat things back to you. So Spelling to Communicate actually works on skill progression of motor skills. It takes the fine motor of speech out and brings it to a gross motor function, where you're using one arm and you're poking with one finger to letters on a letterboard. And it's not magic. It doesn't work like overnight. It's something you really have to work at, just like playing the piano. You know, you don't play Mozart right away. You have to build up that skill. And so for 3 years, we worked on the motor skills of poking to these letters, and now they're able to communicate.
So walk me through it. I mean, you know, you'll ask Noah and Caleb a question, and their answer is on a letterboard that they're spelling out words. Is that how it works?
So here's
I mean,
the background.
is it that simple, right? It's like it's such a great idea. I don't want to oversimplify it, but is that basically
Right.
what they're able to do?
Yeah.
So is it pretty much a lot of patience as a mom?
Yes, it's
I'll bet,
absolutely.
sure.
And it takes a lot of time, to get those words out and sit there and get them to, especially with the dysregulation that happens, because they still have autism. It doesn't mean
Right.
that they're magically in a new place. They still have autism. They still have the impulsive movements. They
Yeah.
still have, all the dysregulation that comes with it. But now they're able to communicate, which gives them autonomy. And autonomy can lead to independence. And so, what I've learned along the way too is that there's even Rutgers professor and researcher, Dr. Elizabeth Torres, and she focuses on autism as a movement perspective and really identifies autism as sensory motor differences.
So
So, what I've learned is that when we're consuming information, it hits a part of the brain that called Wernicke's and then communicates with Broca's area, and this part of the brain is fully intact. So they have language skills. They understand everything. They comprehend everything. They just don't have the motor skills to execute the fine motor of speech.
hmm
So now I'm able to do age appropriate material with my kids and communicate with them and learn about their day and find out what's happening where I wasn't able to do that before. And I
Now-
couldn't believe how well this method worked.
Alexander, let me ask. So again, the method seems very simple that any mom or dad could implement this. What about schools? I mean, are your kids being homeschooled? Are they in a school that has a special needs program? Where are they during the day in those school hours? And why is this not a program that we have heard about at all in our public schools? I don't know anybody doing this.
Right. So I was shocked when I came across this as well. However, my kids are in public school, just in a regular ABA classroom.
Yeah.
And I found out about this from my friend JB Hanley. And he actually wrote a book called Underestimated with his son, Jamie, who is a non-speaker, and he wrote the book with him. And
Wow.
then they also were the ones who, the movie Spellers is actually based on this book. So he had urged me to try this method back in 2020, and I really didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mhm.
But when I finally did, it was life-changing. But
Yeah,
my kids
bet.
are in a public school. I requested that this method be implemented after their AAC evaluation, and it has been denied.
Who denied it? The superintendent, the school
team.
board, the principal? Who?
The IEP team, and I have spoken to the school board. I gave a speech back in January, and I have heard nothing back from the Board of Ed.
So what I want to do with this is I want to use the power of the microphone that we've got, not just here on this show, but on our top-rated morning show. It's the biggest audience in the state. And then we've got Common Sense Club, where we have 110,000 members. This is the kind of thing that is practical. It's reasonable. You're not talking about in anything above a minor expense in the classroom. It sounds to me like the biggest expense is in the patience of the people that will have to help grow with these kids to get them to where they need to be. So what I'd like to do is sound the alarm on this and start talking about this too. And maybe what we'll do, we'll start with promoting the movie Spellers. And if you're available, what would be great is if, Alexander, you'd be willing to write a letter that I can share with our audience, both on our website. I mean, we've got one of the highest traffic websites in the state, and to our membership, and just say, look, this is out there. Everyone knows someone who has a special needs kid, and I've heard, more and more families, and I'm going to adopt what you said, that non-speaking. I think that's a really smart way to approach it. It's kind of like when we had to learn the word typical because normal was not appropriate in that setting. Typical and special needs makes so much more sense and is far more definitive. This is too. So I want to thank you for coming on. If you tell me what the See Me Speak clinic is.
Yeah, so I basically, because the school denied their method of communication, which it's illegal to do under ADA. So I was forced to build what my kids needed because I have 4 kids total, and I really needed to find a safe place for them to be because they're going to school and they're essentially mute. They're muzzled in school. They don't have a reliable form of communication in school. So what happens in school, the teachers don't have a way to communicate. So I became a spelling to communicate practitioner, and I just opened up my clinic in Vernon, New Jersey. And my whole theory is that all I need to do is just get a bunch of non-speakers on the letterboards, because if I can help these families communicate with their kids at home, and then the schools will have no choice but to accept this.
So why don't we do an event? We can do a meet and greet and invite parents who have special needs kids, and we'll bring them in to your See Me Speak clinic in Vernon. We'll pick a day that makes sense. I would love to have some of the kids there, and with the parents' permission, obviously, film some of them and actually show how this point to letter works, how the communication works, how it's not as hard as people might think, and shine a light on what you're doing, because to me, this is now about information. This is the first I'm hearing of it. I mean, before, I didn't know anything about this until my assistant Sharon sent me the link to Spellers. I had no idea. So I'm really thankful that you came on and you've got the courage and the knowledge to talk about this. So why don't we plan something for September, if that's okay with you? And as all the kids are getting back to school, it's a pressing need. Parents will be in a position where they're going to be just like you, saying, why is no one helping us? This is very simple. So I want to be as helpful as possible. We'll plan something in September for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Bill.
Thank you, Alexandra. Great to meet you. Ponsica, I got it. And I'm going to see you very soon. So best to Caleb and Noah and your whole family. Thank you, Alexandra. All right, that was Alexandra Ponsica. The See Me Speak clinic is, what an impressive idea. Like a simple idea as a kid pointing to a letter to spell out a word, because their brain functions, but it's the brain and the communication to those fine motor skills where the problem is. Wow. There are a lot of common sense, practical solutions that are out there. And what we need is a government that is responsive to what our needs are. So here's what we're gonna do. Before I bring in my next guest, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, because you gotta see what we've got planned over the summer. We're bringing Sinatra back, baby. My good friend Michael Martocci, the Old Blue Eyes Orchestra. We've got a couple great events coming up, June 24th and July 22nd. Take a listen. And again, before I go to break, I want to thank our sponsor, Epic Financial Strategies, and our very good friend, Rob Gill. We'll be back with a guest right after the break.
Start spreading the news. I am leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Summer wind came blowing in from across that sea. That's why my lady, she's a champ. Fly me to the moon. Let me play up there with those stars. Yeah, that's life.
Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Like you, I am sick and tired of the culture of acceptance that has been beaten into us by Trenton politicians on both sides of the aisle. Accepting their higher taxes, accepting higher tolls, crumbling roads, accepting a radical school curriculum, accepting busloads of illegal border crossers, accepting prisoners being let out before they complete their sentences, and perhaps worst of all, accepting losing November after November. It is time to break the mentality of acceptance being pushed by Trenton politicians. We need to demand common sense policies and leaders who get it. I am excited to announce the launch of Elect Common Sense and to serve as its honorary chairman. It is time to get back to winning. Hey guys, Bill Spadea here. Welcome back. I hope a lot of you can join us at these great events we have coming up over the summer. Remember, if you want to be involved and get on our email list, go to jointhefight2023.com. We've got 110,000 members now. It's all about common sense. It's all about standing up for our most vulnerable. And, you know, the most vulnerable in our society, not just folks with disabilities, kids with autism. They are a large and unfortunately far too large a group that has been ignored by our government. But we've got pockets all across this state of people that have been ignored by government. As the budget goes up, the politicians enrich themselves and their special interest friends while special needs kids and families get left out in the cold. Now, my next guest is doing something about it. Stephen Beer and his son Samuel. Samuel has autism, and Stephen Beer came up with a great idea to market a brand of popcorn. The whole focus is to make sure that the disabled community, the special needs community, can find employment. And I don't know if you know this, but 82% of the disabled community unemployed. It's an enormous number. And of course, that puts a financial burden on families and individuals. And there is opportunity, but we need government to step up and apply some of the special breaks they give to some of the big corporations and help us build this from the ground up with some of our smaller companies. I want you to hear the story from Stephen Beer himself. Stephen, welcome to Common Ground. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Unfortunately, Sam could not be here tonight. He has COVID.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, hopefully he's feeling okay.
He actually is going to start work back at the popcorn processing center tomorrow.
Good to hear it. And I've got some of your popcorn right here on set. So very nice packaging. I can see through the camera. My wife Jody is here on set. She and Sharon and Elizabeth are all eating the popcorn right now. So I don't know if there'll be any left, which is why I took this one and said I'm going to hold on to it. Tell me.
Which flavor did you get?
I got the butter. So I think
they kept the good stuff.
No. Come on. I also snuck a caramel in there. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm thinking ahead. Okay. Let's talk about it. First, let's talk about Samuel's journey, how you got to a point where you started something that people with challenges at many levels could find gainful employment. Tell me about the program.
So Sam came out of high school, and time to look for a job. We went to the state DVR. They really had nothing. We went to the school. They were very nice, but they had nothing. Yeah. And finally, my wife, who's a developmental pediatrician, said, look, just go figure something out and try to create something yourself. And so we bought a little popcorn stand at that time in the Freehold Mall. Amazing. And we made about 5,000 bags of popcorn. We employed Sam and one other young man. Now, 7 years later.
Wait, 5,000 popcorn bags in a day, a week, a month, or that was your run? That was your run.
That was in a year. Now, this past year, you want to take a guess how many bags we made? We made 250,000 bags. I was gonna say 100,000. So I was short. So you made 250,000 bags of popcorn in different flavors like this, and your employees have challenges. Now, are the challenges autism or only? Does it range? What kind of folks are you employing? So we have now, where we started with Sam, we now have about 80 employees.
Wow.
Most of them are on the autism spectrum, but we also have some young men and women, some some of our workers are in their 50s. It's their first
No
job.
kidding. God bless you. Yeah, that's fantastic.
We have workers with other disabilities too. And there's no official count, there's no official list to go to, but I'm pretty sure we're the #1 employer of autistic workers in the state.
So let me ask you, what are the particular challenges of managing employees who have autism? I mean, there must be something more than other employers go through. What do you go through? What does it take to get to where everyone essentially feels typical because they're doing a job that typical folks are doing?
So I think what's different about us and what's brought us at least, at the moment to success at this moment is that we're a nonprofit, legal nonprofit, but we treat it as a business. You walk in, you're a worker, and we will put accommodations, we will put people to help and teaching and tutoring and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's a real job. It's not one of these made up type jobs.
It's not busy work. You're actually producing a product.
Right.
Now, tell me about the sales, because I know you ran into a bit of a tough spot with Governor Murphy. Does not surprise me. You are a 501c3, is that right? So this is a
501c3.
So that is a nonprofit charitable foundation. For those of you that don't know the tax code, that's okay. 501c3 organization, tax deductible donations. But are you still being taxed on this product? I understand they're treating you like a for-profit business when that's not what you're doing.
It is incredible. The IRS does not tax us. The federal government does not tax us. The state itself on the income does not tax us. But the Department of Taxation within New Jersey hits us with a sales tax, makes us pay sales tax. I've spoken to them, and their take is, well, if you did a bake sale 2 or 3 times a year, we won't charge you sales tax. But since you have work going many days, every day of the year, then we're going to charge you sales tax. So I said to them, let me see if I understand this. If I did less work, if I employed less autistic workers, had less of an effect on autism, then you wouldn't charge a sales tax. And they're like, that's right.
Let me understand that. Wait, that sounds like a bombshell going off. So why would the number of autistic workers factor into them charging sales tax? If let's say you were 5149, typical to autism, they wouldn't charge you a sales tax because you're a 501c3? Is that why?
If we did less work, an example they gave me was if you did a bake sale once a month.
Okay, I see.
We would not charge you.
So the point is that if your guys were working a couple days a month doing a popcorn sale at a school, no sales tax. But the fact that you're actually employing challenged kids and adults, you get taxed. Only in New Jersey, Stephen. I mean, it's madness. Now, that can be solved one of 2 ways, one of 3 ways. The first is the legislature needs to act, but I got to tell you, don't hold your breath because, they're too busy making sure that license plates can be obstructed slightly without you getting a ticket. So I don't know that the legislature is going to get behind it. The second way is that the Department of Taxation has employees that wake up and realize it is their discretion to make this call. This is something that can happen. The third way is we need a new governor who's going to, by executive order, or just fire the folks at the Division of Taxation and say, are you out of your minds for the small amount of money into the state coffers compared to the large amount of money coming out of your shop? So I can tell you this is going to be solved over the course of the next couple of years. This is outrageous. I want to sound the alarm on this and go to our friends in the legislature and say that we need to start applying pressure to Murphy to treat nonprofits as nonprofits. You ought to be praised and get a check from the state for what you're doing, not the other way around. Nuts.
We are saving, and we are proud to be saving the state so much money. We are taking men and women off the dole,
of course,
off the employment line, and putting them to work.
There should be a tax credit for all of what you're doing. This should be something that I've said this before. We need to empower our micro schools and some of our special needs private schools to say, whatever you are saving the community ought to be a direct rebate back to you as a company, even if it's 50 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar, enough that it makes sense to you. So I am sorry for what you're going through on that, but I want to congratulate you because A, it's a new business in New Jersey. B, you are putting people to work who need it, deserve it, and I have to tell you, the popcorn itself, fantastic. So how do people get it? So let's at least keep your business flowing. How do we order this?
One hand. Go to Popcorn for the People, popcornforthepeople.com, and you can order to your heart's content. Popcornforthepeople.com.
Stephen, I love it. I hope that Samuel can join us next time. Tell him I hope he feels better. And best to all the folks there. I would love to come to the plant and tour it, meet some of the folks that are working there, and shine a light on everything that you're doing. Because if we can do a town hall there, shine the light, bring in parents, bring in special needs groups and advocates, and push the government to do the right thing. I think that's going to go a long way. So Sharon will be in touch, and we'll set something up either over the summer or in September.
We only invite special guests. You are invited.
Wow, thank you. I really appreciate that, Stephen. Listen, I'm here for you. As I've said to a number of our guests today, and I've said this over and over again on the radio show, on this platform, and in speeches, your fight is my fight. We are here to raise the level for all the good folks out there that are sacrificing and fighting for those that deserve a voice and don't have one. So thank you for everything you're doing. Best to Samuel and the family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That is Stephen Beer. What an incredible story. I mean, think about this, right? You've got a 501c3. The IRS not taxing, as messed up as the IRS is, even they understand not to tax this great enterprise. The state of New Jersey is not charging a tax on it because they're a nonprofit. But the Division of Taxation is coming in and taking their scoop. I would fire every manager. We're going to get a list of names of the folks that were on the phone with Stephen that told him that, because they ought to be putting their resume together. None of them should be working because they're not working on behalf of the people of this state. And it's about time that whether it's the Division of Motor Vehicles, Labor, Education, Taxation, let me remind all of you, you work for the people. We pay for the jobs that you have because the concept is that government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that is not happening in Trenton right now. All right, my next guests, I have two of them, two great guys that exemplify what I'm saying when I talk about government of the people, for the people, by the people. Both of them are serving in an elected capacity. One, Jason Sarnosky, is running for the Assembly, serves as a Warren County Commissioner. And, you know, what's really interesting, and then Josh Akins, who has been an outstanding advocate for parental rights, serving on the school board. These two gentlemen are running in a contested primary in northern New Jersey. And I'm going to tell you, it is absolutely critical that we get them elected. So remember what I told you. I said this on the air earlier today. And before I bring them in, I want to just preface this so you understand why I'm diving into these primaries. We have a program and a campaign called One Less Idiot. Now, here's what I mean by one less idiot. How many times have you gotten to the November ballot, whether you get the mail-in ballot or you walk into the booth and you're like, how am I stuck with these two idiots? Right? It happens all the time. So I want you to help me reduce the idiot count on the ballot. And the way we do that is we elect good people on primary day. In New Jersey, there are more than 2.3 million unaffiliated voters. 2.3 million. We're a state of 9 million people. Those voters, every one of you that is unaffiliated, and I get it. The Republicans make me just as crazy. I get it. Republicans, Democrats, they make you nuts because it's politics as usual and it feels like it's all about them instead of us. But guys, there are more of us. And I speak for us. And for us, what we need is, if you're unaffiliated, to go to the polls on June 6th, Tuesday, June 6th, and say, I want a Republican ballot. And you'll be a registered Republican that day and you can vote in the primary. Why is that important? Because it's the primary that picks the challengers, the warriors, the folks that are going to be fighting in November. And if we can start selecting better candidates at the primary level, we are going to have a much more productive general election. And when we send the winners off to the Assembly and the Senate, we're going to have something, we're going to have leaders that speak for us. Let's bring in our first guest, Josh Akins, who was instrumental, by the way, in helping with all of the finding the talent, educating people so that people turned out. And do you know that in 2022, we elected 447 new members to the school board? Josh, how you doing? Good to have you.
I'm wonderful. Actually, I've been dealing with people still calling me about school board stuff all day yesterday. So
I believe
it's never going to stop. I know that.
So you are running in a district where there are 2 vacancies. In New Jersey, we have 40 districts. Each has 2 members of the assembly, 1 senator. In your district, which covers Sussex, Morris, and Warren County, the 2 assembly seats are vacant. You and your running mate, Jason, who will join us next, you're running for this open seat. There are 4 people in the race. Tell me why people need to elect you.
Well, I would say that Jason and I absolutely work perfectly together, and we hope to not only just get 1 seat, but we intend on taking both, honestly. Yep. We are movement candidates. We're not just going to go down there and be potted plants and just vote the Republican line every time. We are going to go down there to make a difference, to have the voices of not only this district, but every single forgotten person across this entire state. Their voice will be heard because we'll be there.
Now, what do you think is the #1 issue? I know that we've talked about this offline. I've seen you at many, many events. You and Jason are working your tails off. You're knocking on doors. You're at every event. I keep running into you guys. I think it's fantastic. But you've got 2 opponents. One is a guy that 10 minutes ago got elected mayor in Chester, Mike Inganamort. And then you've got Dawn Fantasia, who I believe is a commissioner in Sussex. But both, as I understand, have ties to this whole ESG nonsense. Mike, in particular, owns a company that is involved with ESG. And then there's the whole issue of the drag queens. So tell me about the differences when it comes to this push to get essentially a social credit score for workers and sexualize our kids.
Yeah, so we can unpack that because there's a couple of different questions I think rolled up in one. So the top issue, even though it's the one I talk about all the time, is still continuing to be schools. So much is tied to your school district, your property taxes, your property value, the allure of your township, all of that stuff on top of the future of not only the state but this country. So that issue remains #1, and it continues to grow louder and louder everywhere we go. The ESG situation, my opponent will try to deny that he's not part of this company or he's not part of that half of the company.
Explain ESG for our audience. Explain what it really means and why people should be upset about it.
Well, I mean, if anyone's paying attention to the banks that are collapsing all over the place, then they'll understand ESG firsthand. Essentially what it is it's a couple different things. It's social issues. So whatever social issue is the social issue of the day, Black Lives Matter was an issue. Now it's, trans issues are taking the forefront. And then on top of that, they want to make sure that you're following a carbon footprint, environmentally sound. And all of that creates this sort of score, right? And when you're trying to make bids, either, with municipalities or with the state or even just general private industries, you are being pushed towards having a high credit. I call it
social credit. It's a social credit score.
It's a social
how
credit
you are on
score.
the environment, how much you're wrapped into these radical climate change activists.
And,
I get it. I got it.
And at the core of it, we're losing sight of what these businesses are supposed to be doing and providing the best product possible. We really shouldn't be concerned about these social issues and making it the forefront of a business. It should be, is your product good? Are you doing a good job? Are you investing properly with your stakeholders' money? Yeah. And if you're not doing that, but your social credit score is high, then we should know about that.
Well,
and I think
Josh, I mean it's basically what happened with Bud Light. All of a sudden, you've got a guy pretending to be a girl, parading around with makeup accounts and everything else. This ridiculousness, and you've got him on the cover on the Bud Light can. Total disaster. They went with ESG, they went with the credit scores, and boom, their sales tanked. So it's bad for business either way. Tell me, though, very quickly, about 45 seconds left, how do you plan to get the voters to understand what the difference is by sending you to the assembly versus your 2 opponents?
So a lot of it has to do with us walking around and getting to know people. Jason and I are knocking on countless doors every day, all the time. In fact, we're about to leave after this call and go knock on doors and be at events. We were just at Roxbury supporting moms who are getting sued by a librarian. We're trying to reach every single corner. And really what you're looking for, the difference is, We're talking about parental rights versus pride flag resolutions. We're talking about, good GOP soldiers versus those that are going to work for the people. Those that are going to be potted plants down in Trenton versus those that are going to be standing and fighting and being transparent with every single vote that they push forward. So that is really the difference here. And really, you're going to find those candidates in Jason and myself.
Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you. Again, I want to thank you for all the hard work you've done over the past few years, helping us mobilize and educate people so that we had an increased turnout at the local level and a surge of moms and dads who ran for school board, and hundreds of them won elections. We're going to do it again in 23. We're going to do it again in 24, again in 25, until we, the people, the moms, the dads, the normals, control these school boards to stop this sexualization of kids. And I will tell you, your two opponents are about as weak Republicans as I've ever seen. Not a backbone at all to stand up against the obvious grooming and sexualized agenda going on in our schools. It's disgusting. It's reprehensible. And the fact that you got a guy that just got elected mayor and couldn't wait to get that second taxpayer job, amazing to me. Amazing. Yep. So thank you, Josh. I'm going to bring your running mate, Jason, in next. You and I will certainly be in touch, and I will see you on the trail.
All right. Be well.
Thank you. All right. Let's bring in Jason Sarnosky, who is the other half of this team that is fighting hard. Look, guys, you know me. I don't pull punches, and I'm not going to couch this at all. This is serious. You've got Republicans. We had this situation with Tom Mastrangelo, who's running for the state Senate in the 26th district, who I am now supporting because he has pointed out, first of all, he just won a big race for commissioner, getting reelected, I believe, for the fourth time, because he's such a good tax cutter and steward of the people's money. But he ran against someone who had the drag queens in front of the kids and then acted like, oh, no, this wasn't me. Don't blame me. Listen, guys, it's not going to cut it anymore. It's not going to cut it. You got to ask yourself, what is it with this movement on the left that has infiltrated parts of the Republican Party that think it's acceptable to sexualize children? Why would a drag queen who says, hey, I want to be left alone, why do you need to be in front of these kids? We have to stop this madness. It's not the only issue, but if we can't get past that issue, we have nothing to talk about. Let's bring in Jason Sarnosky. What's going on, Jason? How are you?
Great, Bill. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm all fired up now. Good. So I want to give you some time. I'll leave a few minutes, but you are a commissioner in Warren County. You have been just like I said about my friend Tom Mastrangelo, commissioner in Morris County, you in Warren County have been a great steward of the people's money in terms of lowering budgets, lowering taxes, and managing it. What is the number one issue that you want to bring into the assembly? Hopefully, both of you are going to win. When you go to vote, there are 4 candidates. You vote for 2 of the 4. What are you going to bring in?
Yeah, and we've eliminated debt in Warren County as well. But when I
eliminated debt, you can say that again.
We did. We eliminated debt. $17 million in debt when I started. We're pretty much without debt right now in Warren County. Yeah. But when I go door to door, and Josh said it, we're going to thousands of doors, and I'm talking to the taxpayers in New Jersey. They're telling me their number one issues are taxes, protecting their families, and protecting their kids in school. And that is what we are laser focused on. So my tax record is unimpeachable. But you look at what's going on. Dawn Fantasia last night, one of my opponents, is supporting a resolution in Sussex County that calls on a reinstatement of the Transportation Trust Fund, the gas tax. She wants to renew it, and she wants the Sussex County Commissioners to stand up with her and say they want to renew it. I think that's ridiculous. Aren't we taxed enough in this state? Yeah. And then the parental rights, we've talked about it. Josh is a great advocate. I'm right with him. I'm going to Mansfield Township tonight because their K-6 school is putting the LGBT plus pride flags up in the school, K-6. That's ridiculous. We got to fight back. And then our families are under attack. We see what's going on in our communities. We've never had more dangerous communities, and yet our Second Amendment rights are being eroded and our ability to protect ourselves. So those are the kind of things I'm fighting for right now, Bill.
You know, it's interesting, Jason, you say that this alphabet soup. I have been talking to a lot of gay parents who have been calling the show, some that will text me or send me a note on Twitter because they don't want to be public, but they're like, look, it really is LGB. You know, this whole, the T and the Q and the alphabet soup, somehow that all got lumped together. Most gay parents across this state do not want their kids sexualized. And that is something that the message is not getting out there. Whether you are gay or straight, if you're a parent and you are in charge of these little minds and little souls that have to be brought up with some kind of structure and learning, when you are talking about waiting for Santa Claus to deliver gifts on Christmas, you can then not on the other side say, hey, it's okay to be confused about your gender. We're going to push you in one direction. I mean, you know, and I think, Jason, people have to realize, was it the state of Washington that just passed this law that said if the law is intended to protect trans kids. This is absolutely ridiculous. They are saying that a kid could actually be hidden and taken from their parents if the parents are not behind this so-called gender-affirming care. Obviously, this is child abuse. It's happening in a state in this country in 2023, and you've got folks in Trenton that believe in this garbage, this sexual abuse, this predatory behavior coming from the Democrats. Thank God you're running, and I know I'm all riled up, but I got to tell you something. It is time to fight like hell. Somebody said to me the other day, they said, you know, a couple of the candidates that I'm supporting, they said, you know, they're a little rough around the edges. They're kind of tough talkers. They're going to come at us. And I'm like, you are damn right. I am supporting people because they are fighters, and it is time to fight like hell for our parents, our state, and our kids. I'll give you the last word.
Bill. We have to, and absolutely, you're absolutely right. We got to call out our own party and our own people when they're not doing the right thing. We look at the information bill that was passed in Trenton with the support of Republicans. We look at the Election Integrity Act that was passed with the support of Republicans.
That's right.
That is eroding our system. So, Bill, if we don't have strong people that are willing to stand up and voice their opinion, like Josh and I, we're not going to change Trenton. So we have to get that, me and Josh down there. So thank you for giving us the ability to talk about it.
Well, I appreciate you, Jason. I appreciate Josh. I know we have an event coming up, I believe, on the 22nd. And I believe we also have some door knocking that we're going to be doing. So we are 100% with you. We're going to help get you over the finish line. Listen, I hope that people can hear and feel my enthusiasm on this, because what I really want is finally to start the morning show broadcast knowing that I don't have enough time to talk about all the fighters that we just elected in Trenton that are going to take the Democratic majority, hopefully it's short-lived majority, and the governor to task on all this nonsense. So I know you are one of those fighters. Anybody that lives in Warren, Sussex, Morris County, you need to vote for Jason Sarnosky and Josh Akins. They will fight for you. They've got the courage to stand up. Enough of these weak, feckless Republicans who are too afraid to stand up to the Democrats. We've got to fight them because they're coming for your kids, they're coming for your business, they're coming for your future. Jason, thank you for joining me. I will see you on the trail very soon. Good luck tonight. Thanks for taking up this fight. Soon. You bet. Take care. All right, so that got me all riled up. You know, and I know I've got a minute left now before this broadcast ends, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do when I'm done. I'm going to turn to another camera, and we're going to record commercials for a lot of these candidates that I'm supporting. So what I want you to do is two things. One, probably three or four things, but let's start with two. One, I want you to go to jointhefight2023.com. Jointhefight2023.com. Join me. Join me. We're going to fight to take the state and our country back. That's number one. Number two, I want you to go to moneymindset2023.com, because while all of this nonsense is going on, my friend Rob Gill and Epic Financial Strategies are here to help you protect and preserve what you've worked so hard to build. They can actually get you into a program and with products that can help you become your own bank. It's amazing. I'm not a financial guy. I'm going to let them explain it. Go to moneymindset2023.com. Fill out the form. Fill out the form. Seriously, do I have to tell you that? I know. A lot of people are going to it. They fill out half the form. They're like, hey, how come no one called me? Fill out the whole form and click submit. Moneymindset2023.com. Also, follow me on social media. All platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Bill Spadea on Twitter and Instagram, and at Bill Spadea Official on Facebook. Because all these candidates I'm talking about, I'm promoting on social media across our platforms. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I don't do as much politics on that, but especially Twitter and Instagram, at Bill Spadea. Last thing, BillSpadea.com. You can click on the events and join me on the trail. We are out My wife Jody and I are out 2, 3, 4 times a night, working 6 to 7 days a week. And I'll tell you why. I'm doing it because I'm digging in and I'm tired of these intrusive, egregious politicians that think they can have their hand in your pocket, in your bank account, and tell you how to raise your kids. We've got to get it back. We need a government that functions for the people. That government has to be of the people, by the people, and equally important, for the people. And we've lost that thread. We're going to get it back together. Have a great rest of your day. Make sure you continue to follow us, onnj.com, and join the fight, 2023.com. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.